चेक करें यार, ये क्या हो गया, इधर क्यों नहीं आ रहा लाइव?
I think we are live on Facebook, right?
Yeah,
it
we are
says
live. We are live.
so. Should we begin?
Yeah.
Okay. So, hello everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the live session series hosted by Marketetics in collaboration with TechGeeks Pakistan. So today we have Hussain Mehmood with us. Hussain is the founder and principal consultant at Marketetics. He has over 10 years of digital analytics and engineering experience, where he has helped businesses understand their user behavior in 25 plus countries. His company Marketetics also helps digital businesses gather data and understand their user behavior. Today we are hosting this session uh, as like a very informal discussion about how to measure the impact of digital marketing. Hussain has his presentation set it up, so he'll give you the presentation for next 30 minutes, and then we'll have a specific slot for your question answers as well. So I'll let Hussain take the lead now.
Awesome. Thank you, Ira. Thank you for hosting this today. All right. Great to meet everyone. I want to just actually today talk about a bit about measuring the impact of digital marketing. So I think there's a lot of misconceptions about कि बहुत मुश्किल है या उसमें बहुत ज़्यादा काम करना पड़ता है. So I want to talk about 3 different ways that you can measure the impact. Starting with something really simple, where the goal is just to see if someone is actually interacting with things that you're posting, all the way up to very advanced things that some large companies are using as well. And in each of these cases, we'll try to build it step by step, right? And as you guys have like any questions, I'd love to hear them and kind of discuss them as well. And let's see. So I'm going to try and share my screen. All right, are you guys able to see my screen at the moment?
No, not yet. I think it will take a while.
Let me try that again.
Yep, it's here now.
All right, awesome, thank you. Cool. Yeah, so just sort of talking about impact of digital marketing, I think it would be good to kind of start with what are we trying to do with marketing, right? So I'll sort of set the stage from my perspective in terms of mera kya objective hai, and when I think about marketing. And primarily, from my perspective, it is mostly about attention, right? Just the goal is to figure out how can we kind of grab attention of the user that is relevant to our audience or relevant to our business, and then kind of keep that attention for the period of getting them to the desired outcome, right? So I start with that foundational idea. My goal is to figure out how do I measure the attention that someone is giving me, and then we like sort of build up on that. कि हम उससे किस तरह से measure कर सकते हैं. Of course, attention is not like a very quantitative thing, right? So we have to figure out some metrics to qualify it in certain different ways. And isme the idea that I think about is that you broadly have different ways that you can get, that you get attention. Some of this is very push-based. So you have, me as a person, sending you messages, or you sending emails to your customers. This is all like push-based messaging, right? And then you have pull-based messaging where you have things like organic search, word of mouth, your users posting on your behalf on social media. A lot of videos that go viral and so forth, right? So in दो categories के अंदर हम लोग ज़्यादातर चीज़ें measure करने की कोशिश कर रहे होते हैं. We have very little control if we think about the push side of things, pull side of things, क्योंकि pull वाले चीज़ें are being done organically by the user, so it's their choice how they promote us, how they position us, right? But push is where we spend a lot of our effort and money, and our goal with that is to figure out how we can understand that better. And if we look at that, the split between the two is, how much information could we gather in each of these cases. So हमारे पास क्योंकि push पे control ज़्यादा है, तो we're mostly going to focus on that section. Pull के बारे में कुछ information we get automatically, and we're going to touch on that towards the end. But the most of this is going to be about push things, where you as a marketer is either promoting something or marketing something, and then trying to get people to a desired outcome. ठीक है जी. So let's start with like something really basic, right? So you have a post on Facebook. उस post पे you've promoted something or you've written about something. What is the minimum thing that you can track, right? So the minimum thing that you can track in most cases is you have the ability to track the click of the of the post. So you can see basically what is the person clicking on, or uski basis pe what are they going to actually end up getting to. So this is really, really simple, right? In most cases, what we tend to recommend doing is you should use some sort of a URL shortener. Bitly is a very famous one. There's others as well. And the idea is you start with just seeing, if I'm posting something, is someone actually clicking on those things and getting back to my page, or getting back to the link that I'm sharing. So in this case, if you look at it, this is a post by Google Analytics on Facebook. And what they've done is that they've used Bitly, right? And why would you think like someone like Google Analytics might use Bitly, right? So in this case mein ho ye raha hai ki they are actually linking to a third party post. So they're linking to this person Jonas who's written something about Google Analytics. So they would not really know once they get to, like, someone gets to that page ki agar, if they was successful or not. But by using Bitly, now they'll know if someone passes through that link, how much traffic was driven through this post that they did on Facebook. And as you see, if you land on this page, this is like a completely different page. You have a Facebook click ID and everything else in there. So it's it's something that would not have a lot of information out of the box. But using this, Google, who's posting this link, knows कि यार मैंने इस link के बारे में कितना फायदा हुआ. So the story so far is that when you're starting, the minimum viable thing or the easiest thing that you can do is actually measure the clicks. So this starts with using something like Bitly. Rebrandly is another one, right? Usko advance करने का तरीका ये है कि if you're, let's say, posting on 5 different social channels, Twitter पे कर रहे हैं, Google Ads, Facebook पे कर रहे हैं, and then let's say maybe Google Ads या other places पे कर रहे हैं, you use different links for each of them. इसमें ये है कि काम बढ़ जाता है. You have to have like separate links for each of them, so that means that you have to create multiple links for the same thing. But the benefit is that you can then very easily look at total traffic from each of these channels, and then उसमें से आपको पता चल जाएगा कि how much traffic was generated, and then you get like a very high level overview of things. So the point is that this gets you started on the journey. So if you are a marketer and you're having a conversation with someone, let's say your head of marketing, or even like someone else that's asked you to promote something, you can actually tell them that, yeah, at the very least this is the amount of clicks that I was able to drive. But of course this is being a good marketer, this would probably not be this would be not really very effective, right? So if I have a lot of links, I'm just ending up creating like a bunch of different links for things, and it's a cumbersome work, because then I have to go back and look at all of these things separately as well. But the benefit at a starting point is that you actually get some information out. The next step is that you can actually try and improve some of this tracking. So you can actually use what's considered UTM tags. So UTM tags is this thing that Google Analytics started using more than about 15 years ago now. So the idea was that the information that was given to us by the browsers, by default, wasn't really enough. So what they did was that they introduced this idea that आप URL के अंदर और parameters depend करते हैं, so you can add additional things at the end of your URL, and then using that, you will get more information in your analytics reports. So इसके लिए requirements ये हैं कि you have to have a ad, then you have to have a page where you can add Google Analytics, right? So you would need to do some setup, and then finally you would need to like have some basic understanding of Google Analytics to actually see the performance. But एक दफा आपने ये चीज setup कर ली, so the end-to-end process is you are able to see how much traffic was driven from each of the ads that you added, and then how many users came through that, and then as at the end of it, like how many goals were received as well. So what this cool watch company has done as well is each of their links has these UTM parameters in the URL, and then you can see they've tagged it as social, and then they have a name for the campaign and then the medium as well. और इसके थ्रू अब उन्हें पता चल रहा है कि how many people are coming from that particular ad that they've posted on social media. And just to be kind of completely clear, this is not just limited to ads or social media. This is applicable to wherever you would have a link, right? So अगर आप email में link भेज रहे हैं, you can use this. If you're doing it somewhere else, you can still use this. So the benefit of having something like this is it works across anywhere where you are able to share your address. ठीक है जी, तो let's talk about creating UTM tags. The high level idea here is that you have three main things. You have UTM source, medium, and campaign. And using them, you can mostly kind of tag kya cheezein, what are the things that you're actually trying to measure. So you have the ability to see कि किस website से traffic आ रहा है, क्या medium है, and then उसकी क्या campaign है. So the channel of traffic is really useful. So because you could have like the same source, for example, Facebook could be driving paid traffic as well, and as well as you could have things on your Facebook fan page as well or brand page as well. And then the campaign is also very useful because you might be promoting the same thing in multiple campaigns. So this way you can actually differentiate between them. And in this case, I've linked up to this UTM builder that you can use. But again, the idea here is you'll just enter these things and then you will click on copy URL, and it will basically give you this URL that you can use. You also have these other things with UTM content and terms. So अगर आपका एक जो campaign है उसमें multiple headlines use कर रहे हैं, कोई और चीज़ use कर रहे हैं, तो उसके through you can use the content or the term field to actually be more precise and get data like really precisely based off that. So, but of course, I'm sure you're all, great marketeers. So, you're not likely satisfied with just having, just having like a click, right? You would want to know, यार, उस click से मुझे actually फायदा क्या हुआ? And for that question, you have to actually sort of go beyond the click. So it requires some thinking upfront. यार, मेरा मकसद क्या है इस चीज़ को post करने का, which is something that I think everyone knows about from the start. And then, once you have that information, the idea there is, just understand के उस outcome तक पहुंचने के लिए journey क्या है, and then how do we, how can we sort of measure it? So broadly, if you think about it, there's actually two main journeys that you have. So you have like a macro outcome, which is your main purpose of the website or main purpose of your business. In most cases, if you're an e-commerce store, you're selling something. If you're a website for lead generation, like the goal is to submit a form. So the macro goal is the thing that you start with. And then micro is something, that is helping you get there, because, digital mein, it's very unlikely that like the person, comes for the first time and, converts, right? They would not complete the desired outcome right away. It will take some time to get there. And using this approach, you should try to measure going through that process, what are the things that they did, that might, indicate that they're more interested in converting than other people. So in this case, you use micro goals. So you have things like reading a post, you can have subscribing to a newsletter, adding to cart for e-commerce, which are common ones. And then, you can look at like the very detailed process कि आप किस तरह से इस चीज़ को कर सकते हैं at the link below. So the idea there is कि, you can actually precisely measure, each step throughout that process. ठीक है जी. But we have like a major challenge with this thing. The challenge is that in most cases, your users are never going to convert on the first visit, right? So they are likely going to actually come from multiple channels. If you're marketing, you're likely, promoting your things on email, on social media, on other places. So for a tool like analytics, it's, not always clear when someone is actually converting. So because there are so many channels, you have to actually figure out a way to decide कि जो conversion है वो कहाँ से हो रही है, what are the actually things that actually help people convert. So जो पूरी उसकी journey की जो tracking है, that's actually a pretty wide field, and it's actually a very interesting area if people are interested in data science as well, is figuring out कि यार for someone's journey, what are actual sources or actions that they did that might lead them to converting later on. So what is the main driver of someone's conversion? So there are a few ways of doing that. In case if we look at this here, going back to our original example, I'm someone that's slightly indecisive, right? So what I would do is I would probably click on all of these 3 links, right? And then I would visit the website, 3 times. But of course, I'm also, budget conscious. So I'm not like going to buy all of these things, right? So I'm actually going to buy like one of these things. So, but the challenge for, this brand is, yeah, I as a person have now clicked on so many things, and then, I'm only going to make one purchase. So if you imagine that this is a journey where, and I'm taking this journey through, like, say, a couple of days. I start with, first looking at the school watch, then I, forget about it. Sometime later, I see, this other watch, I go back, I look at something else, then I come back. In a very likely case, इसके बाद मुझे हर तरफ ads नजर आना शुरू हो जाएंगे. अगर if you guys are familiar with Daraz और आपने कभी Daraz में shopping की है, तो one of the tactics that they use is कि once you've looked at anything, they'll kind of track you across the internet, right? So they'll show you ads on, on Dawn, they'll show you ads, on YouTube, they'll show you ads on Facebook. And the reason they're doing that is to, try to kind of engage you back, right? But उनके पास इसकी वजह से challenge ये आ रहा है कि because they're trying to promote you the information on all of these places, they are in a lot of ways, spending more money that they have to then figure out how to account for. और इसका जो तरीका है वो typically is done through attribution, and the idea behind this attribution is that your goal as a as a marketer is to figure out what has actually driven the conversions that that have sort of done through, right? So I like to think of this as musical chairs, right? So you have a bunch of different sources, and then you have to figure out इसमें से किस चीज का वजह से मुझे फायदा हुआ. So it's a process where you try and think about more qualitative factors. There might be things like word of mouth and other things that might contribute to it, and then you also think of quantitative factors. As an example, कि किस source से या किस traffic channel से बंदा पहले आया, किस traffic channel से बंदा बाद में आया, and then how do people interact with those channels to convert. The combination of these things is what ends up building like the key thing that we use digital analytics for, which is trying to understand like the impact of marketing on our conversions, right? So now like we are in a more complex world, right? So the simplest world is कि यार हमने click देखा, click की basis पे बंदा आया था, and we say कि यार they converted. Then beyond that, we then tend to look at other things, and then that would tell us कि is person converting or not converting. Then finally you are starting to look at more of like this this combination of factors, because आपने इतनी सारी जगह पे अपना ad चला दिया है. So you have to actually think about कि यार of all of these things that I'm doing, what is actually the most beneficial thing. ठीक है जी. So let's look at like a quick example. So there's a lot of different ways to think about attribution. So this has been like one of probably the most debated things within the marketing analytics world. So most people are thinking about these things in a bunch of very 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 different ways. I've just listed out like some of these very high level examples, and we'll run through actually one or two in a quick demo as well after this. But the idea is that in most cases, this is something that is very dependent on your understanding of the business and how different channels, or different traffic sources that you're working with would interact. So सबसे common जो है, if you're using Google Analytics, is last click and attribution, which is what Google uses. So what Google tries to do is कि जिस source से last आपका click आया होगा, उसको वो credit कर देगा for the source of that conversion. What it also tries to do is, of course, if you come directly to that page, it will ignore your last like direct click, and it will just try to find like the click that happened from a marketing channel. So that's like the most popular one that everyone's familiar with. There's actually a lot of people that and this is a very debatable topic again, okay, that talk about first click as well, right? So you think about first click in a way, okay, first click would let you actually see the first source that someone used to come to the website and then convert, right? And then we have a lot of machine learning applications in this area where people are trying to figure out if we remove one source from this mix, would that result in higher or lower conversions? How can we save more money, in doing these sort of conversions as well? And then I've linked up to this post, which is I think a very good, deep dive into the idea of attribution, for marketing. Cool. And then if you actually notice, for example, these links as well. So these are similar to Bitly, right? मैं किसी third party पे भेज रहा हूँ आप लोगों को, but I would love to see if someone clicks on it, right? So this way, by going through this link, I would know, similar to Bitly, if someone has gone through this process. So this is a really easy way to just get like some feedback about the thing that you did actually worked or not. ठीक है जी. So we'll do a quick dive into some of the reports that we have in analytics that will let you see some of this data, and then we can jump back to Hira for some questions. All right, let's see. All right, awesome. So I'm using actually a Google demo account. So this is called Google Merchandise account. So this is actually a very good way if you're interested in learning how to use Google Analytics. This is a free account that anyone can get access to, and then you can just search for a Google Merchandise Google Analytics account, and then it will show you how to get access. So this this way I can share data. Of course I can't and this will let me share some data that is more publicly available than our customers' data. But the idea here is that in most cases you have a bunch of different sections in Google Analytics, and the main one that we are interested in right now is acquisition, which tells us where does our traffic come from. And within traffic, we are really interested in जो हमने खुद traffic भेजा है websites पे, which is generally done through UTM tags. So anything with the UTM tag would generally show up with like a campaign here, and then you can actually look at all your traffic, within the source medium report as well. So अगर मैं source medium report में जाता हूँ, तो this will actually show me every channel जिसके through मुझे traffic आ रहा है. So I have things like Google Organic, which is again, not something I control. So it's a user that just comes to my website. I have direct none. Then this is like, they're driving some, CPM campaigns here. We have, this affiliate channel that they have. They're running Facebook ads. So there's this channel as well. And then there's a lot of these referrals from different places. So this report is like at a high level telling me कि मुझे कितना traffic आ रहा है from each of these places, right? And then for that traffic, how many conversions I've had for different outcomes that I've set up. So these are my different outcomes that this store has created, right? So their outcomes are if someone starts a checkout, someone registers for an account, someone engages, and then purchases, right? And then of course we have transactions, which is telling us about revenue as well. सही जी. तो this is like at a high level telling me कि मेरे कितने conversions हैं. A better way to look at it would be to look at label purchase completed as well. In this case, I'm not sure if they have a lot of purchases, because this is more of a demo account. But if you look at it, there's like some people that have come through organic or direct and made some purchases, right? And then there's others from paid media as well. So it's a good way to just like quickly see कि यार क्या हो रहा है इस account में. सही जी. And then if we want to jump more specifically into the things that we are doing, from like a ad perspective, then I would want to go into the campaigns report. And then campaigns में what I can do is I can look at all my different campaigns that I've run, and within those campaigns I can see कितनी conversions आ रही हैं, कहाँ से आ रही हैं, and how does that sort of performance look, right? And then for paid channels, there's actually a feature कि अगर आप AdWords use कर रहे हैं, तो you can actually just do cost analysis as well, which will let you see how much have you spent on doing this. This is very easy to do if you have CPC Google Ads, because you can just do a linking between these two accounts from Google Ads. For other sources, there's a manual way to import the data, but it's a little bit harder. So this is again like a good way to see कि यार अब मैं इसमें चाहूँ तो if I can go into my campaigns as well and then look at how things are sort of broken up. ठीक है जी. So this is like a very high level way of doing this. The other thing that we talked about was outcomes, right? So let's think about यार हमारा जो outcome है उसको हम किस तरह से बेहतर देख सकते हैं. So this is another report which is called goal flow report. What this allows you to do, this is a conversion, and this is something that we've set up. But you can actually define a series of steps that a person has to go through to complete something. And in this case, what we've defined is a purchase completed key funnel. So you have people going to cart, and then you can see actually how many people drop out from the cart, and then going to billing, payment, review, and purchase completed, right? So I can actually see my entire flow. I can see how many people complete this flow, what my conversion rate is, all from this report. And then the other thing is कि मैंने यहाँ पे campaign select की हुई है. I can also select other things, but like campaign से मुझे ये पता चल रहा है कि यार इस campaign से मेरा कितना traffic आ रहा है. So I can actually look at this as well. So this tells me, okay, this is how much traffic is going through this flow, for this particular purpose. So this is a really good way to just, quickly understand Google Analytics performance. So for this, you only need to make sure that you do UTM tagging. You have Google Analytics on your website, which is just adding a tracking code, and then you set up a goal in Google Analytics, which is also really easy to do. So like that entire thing should take you, less than an hour. If you have a developer, they can help you with adding the tracking code as well. And then as a marketer, your goal then is to just make sure that whenever you're posting something, you add UTM tags to the links, which is, if once you get into the habit of it, that should be easy enough. And then let's look at like a more advanced example, right? So अभी हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं कि यार एक बंदा आया, उसने इस campaign से मेरी website को visit किया, and then they bought something, which is great, but it's in the real world it doesn't happen as often. So let's look at this other report that Google has, which is called attribution. So the idea behind attribution is that you're actually able to see how different channels combine together to lead to a conversion. So यहाँ पे ये what it's showing us is कि यार these are the combination of things that are combined for someone to convert. So here we are able to see referrals, and then direct, organic search, and direct, and then we can actually change this to, let's say, look at our traffic sources and mediums as well. So this will tell us actually the campaign or the source media. So there's a lot of the people that are coming through, let's say, email के through आ रहे हैं and then convert कर रहे हैं, and other places के through आ रहे हैं and then convert कर रहे हैं. So this is sort of their way of doing this. And then यहाँ पे जो मैं बात कर रहा था attribution channels की, you have a bunch of different attribution channels. Data driven is Google's machine learning in the background figuring out कि क्या, what is the most likely thing that impacted the conversion. First click is really simple. It's just trying to see क्या पहला click कहाँ से आया था जिसकी वजह से conversion हुई. And then you have like the more common one, which is last click, which what Google Analytics uses by default. जिसमें आपको नजर आ रहा है कहाँ से conversion. ठीक है जी. So like the high level view of this is that in most cases you have a few different ways to figure out what is the thing that is actually leading to conversion, but you have to think about them step by step. So you can't you should start with something really simple and then kind of scale up from that. And then if I go back to my demo, let's go back to all right. So I've linked up to a few resources in terms of things that you can actually read up on and try. I think this, like, if you read through these, hopefully this should take you, maybe an hour or two, but this will get you started on like a very solid grounding for doing some measurement for understanding the impact of your conversions. So I've started with something really basic, which is Bitly. Uske baad UTM builders, like how to set up goals, and like at the end of it, more kind of things like casual impact, and make the advanced things that you can use to actually understand the conversion. All right, awesome. So I think that kind of kind of wraps it up for the most part. And yeah, so I think I'll open it up to Hira for any questions on that you guys have. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Hussain. So, I mean, I'm just giving you a background info because I think you cannot see the Facebook live. Total like 42 people are watching us right now.
Awesome.
And yeah, so we have a bunch of questions from the audience as well, but kuch questions मैंने भी note किए हुए थे, so I'll go one by one.
Sure.
So I think the initial part of whatever we wanted to discuss, you've covered all of it in your presentation. जो मेरा एक बहुत basic सा सवाल था, which may not be basic for a lot of people, but वो ये था कि for example, if there is a business and that is running a mix of everything, they're running Google ads as well, they're running Facebook ads as well, and then they have lots of influencers who are bringing a lot of affiliates as well. The traffic is coming from all the other sources. So how do you think जब इतनी सारी चीजों में you're involved, तो उस पूरी campaign की effectiveness, how do you measure? Is there any one parameter that we look at, or is it like bunch of different things that we look at to define one thing कि अच्छा ये parameter था और ये goal था, ये achieve हो गया है?
बिल्कुल. So I think that's a great question. So it's a very common problem that people have when you're doing marketing. But unfortunately, like the short answer is it's not something that that's easily solved for. So in most cases, this is where we use things like attribution. उसमें idea ये है कि like at a very simple level, what you're trying to do is figure out कि जितने भी चैनल से बंदा आया है उसमें से किससे सबसे ज्यादा कन्वर्जन्स आ रही हैं, राइट? तो आपकी कोशिश ये है कि if someone converts from a specific channel, you want to give some credit to it, for doing that conversion. So for example, if you're using UTM tags और आपने अपने सारे influencers को भी short links दे दिए हैं Bitly के या दूसरी चीजें दे दी हैं, तो जब भी कोई उसके थ्रू क्लिक करके आपके पास आएगा, you will know कि they've come from that source, right? So the first thing is knowing कि यार कहाँ से लोग आए, and the second thing is then if they actually make a conversion or buy something, तब आप उसकी basis पे देख सकते हैं कि यार अच्छा इस source से आए थे और इतने पैसे मैंने कमाए, and then I can just do like a simple math कि यार मैंने इतना खर्चा किया था इस चीज पे करने पे, and then this is my conversion. So this is a very simplistic idea कि अगर बंदा सिर्फ एक ही source से आ रहा है और convert कर रहा है, then you can just see like at a very high level, कितने लोग आए और कितने लोगों ने convert किया.
But for example, that मेरी एक affiliate link थी and somebody comes on my profile, he saw that link and he made the purchase, but he didn't literally make the purchase foreign. उसने शायद 3 दिन बाद वो purchase की, 2 दिन बाद purchase की, but that purchase was basically triggered by my link. So वो cookies में save रहता है कितने time तक you can like basically track कि जो एक purchase trigger हुई थी वो किस बंदे के link से हुई थी.
Yep, totally. So that's actually a great question which I completely glanced over. So उसमें idea ये है कि you basically have like when you're clicking something, जब आप अगली website पे जाते हैं, तो the website is actually storing some information about you, right? So the website is actually creating a cookie that would have an information about यार someone has come from Hira's profile, but this is only possible if the person clicks on the link, otherwise it's not possible. And then that information is saved in a cookie. So cookie की जो expiry है, that's a very debated topic क्योंकि आजकल privacy concerns बहुत ज़्यादा है. So a lot of people are limiting how long you can store the cookie. But on average, you can actually these days you can actually have a cookie for between about 7 to 14 days in most cases. So if you click on something and then you convert within 14 days, it's mostly likely that you will get the credit for that conversion. But otherwise, it will not show up. इसमें एक और जो challenge है हमारे पास वो ये है कि people actually come from mobile devices, right? So पहले let's say they click on mobile and then they come to the website and then they come from desktop when they make the purchase, because it's very hard to complete purchase on mobile. And in that case, most of our tracking is actually not very useful because the person has completely changed devices. So from a computer's perspective, they don't really know that it's the same user. So there's actually a lot of these challenges, but our best bet right now is making sure that we use UTM parameters, and then once we have those UTM parameters, we can at a high level just see के कितने लोग आ रहे हैं और उनमें से कितने लोग convert कर रहे हैं.
Okay, fair enough. So एक और confusion जो मेरे दिमाग में थी, which I'm sure कि a lot of marketers who run their ads and जो Google Analytics भी use करते हैं, उन्होंने ये चीज note की होगी. So Facebook पे we use a pixel that tracks a lot of traffic जो Facebook के जरिए आ रहा है, and then Google पे website का traffic आ रहा है. But a lot of times we see कि किसी हद तक discrepancy होती है in the data that Facebook pixel is showing and Google Analytics is showing. So why do you think that happens? And if that is happening, हमें as a marketer, which channel should we prefer? Facebook pixel or Google Analytics? What's the deal there?
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल. So होता ये है कि यार हर जो चैनल है you have to think from their perspective कि every advertising platform has an incentive to actually say कि यार मेरी तरफ से conversion आई है, right? Because if you look at from Facebook's perspective, if they've sent the link, you know, that would mean कि they would get the credit, and then you'll advertise more with them, right? Or AdWords would also do the same thing. So the challenge with that is that in most cases there's no like one perfect answer, but the benefit of having a platform like Google Analytics in the middle is that उसमें सारी चीज़ों का data आ रहा है, right? So you're able to actually combine all of that information and see कि किस जगह से actually conversion हो रही है. Versus like if you were just looking at Facebook, it will tell you half the story, because हो सकता है कोई बंदा originally Facebook से आया हो या उसने एक दफ़ा Facebook पे कोई ad देखा हो, लेकिन बाद में वो convert किसी और जगह से कर रहा हो, तो Facebook would still claim credit for that conversion. इसलिए likely if you look at any ad platform, you're generally going to see that they will always report higher conversions than your analytics platform. But overall, like अगर if you look at like the total conversions, if you assume कि आपका सिर्फ Facebook पे advertising कर रही है, तब दोनों की conversions बराबर होंगी. But in other cases, it would always be different, and that's mostly because everyone wants to take more credit.
So do we have any bottom line कि हम किसका जो है वो number जो है we keep like prefer किसका करेंगे?
तो यार मेरी अपना मशवरा तो ये है कि किसी एक चीज पे थोड़ी देर एतबार कर लें, क्योंकि वरना ये होता है कि if you keep moving around, then you're always going to be confused. The thing is that in most cases, the way to test for something like this, which is like a easy test but thoda sa it requires a bit of patience, is that you can actually pause the ads on one of those platforms, and then once you pause the ads, you can see कि actually उससे impact कितना आ रहा है मेरे पास, right?
Yeah.
So अगर मैं Facebook बंद कर देता हूँ और उससे मेरे पास impact कितना नहीं आता, that means कि basically Facebook is claiming credit for things that they should not be. So there's ways to do it, but मेरा अपना जो experience ये रहा है कि in most cases, if you're promoting on multiple channels, then it's better to use something like Google Analytics, जहाँ पे आपका सारा information एक ही जगह पे आ रही है. You should always like keep like a quick eye on like other places कि यार क्या चल रहा है, because they should not differ too much. But like I would say, yeah, stick with the platform that has all the information rather than one or the other.
Okay, so we have a lot of questions from the audience, and I want like ask a lot of questions from my side now. So this time पे हम लोग session promote कर रहे थे. I think Haris asked this question and I noted it down. वो question ये था कि what is the best way to track web to app conversion? If you can answer that.
Sure. हाँ, so web to app का यार जो challenge है वो यही है जो मैं originally बात कर रहा था कि if someone starts their journey on mobile and then converts on desktop, इसमें उल्टा हो रहा है, right? So someone starts their journey on your on your website and then goes to the app to convert. So for that to work, हमारे पास there's a few ways to do it. One of the things is कि folks like our platform, Facebook and Google, all of them have a lot of data about us, right? So even though we may not know कि बंदा कहाँ से आ रहा है, they basically know कि this is the same user that's visiting from website as well as mobile. So what they do and what information they provide us is they actually tend to tell us कि यार because that person was logged in on Facebook on desktop as well as on mobile, this is the same person that's converted. उसके लिए आपको app के अंदर उनका SDK install करना पड़ता है, so that's something your developer could help with. But with using something like that, you will be able to attribute a conversion from website to app. There's also a few third-party platforms. There's a popular one that we've used a lot called AppsFlyer. There's another one called Branch.io. In सब का यही idea है कि they try to figure out if it's the same user that opens your website and goes to your app, and then if they think it is, then they'll let you know. उसके पीछे there's like a bunch of technology, but like at a high level, that's how it works.
Okay, so we have a lot of similar kind of questions as well, जिनको मैं combine करके बता रही हूँ, but there's an interesting insight जिस पे I think we should talk more. वो basically GDPR compliance पे है. So just because we discussed cookies right now, so मैं चाह रही हूँ कि उसी को हम continue कर लें. So somebody is asking on Facebook, is storing data in cookies is like GDPR compliant or not?
ठीक है, तो इसमें मेरा जो डिफॉल्ट आंसर है वो ये है कि मैं लॉयर नहीं हूँ, तो प्लीज डू नॉट ब्लेम मी इफ यू गेट इन ट्रबल, right? And then the idea is that cookies by default are not not banned. It's basically the information that you're storing in the cookies, and then what what the platforms are using those cookies. So GDPR का जो main idea है वो ये है कि you should get permission from your user before before you actually track them, right? Or before you store their information. तो as long as you're doing that, which is like आपने देखा होगा कि हर जगह आजकल there's these banners that you have to click to accept to get access and things like that, right? So as long as you're doing that, then you're fine with using cookies. But if you're not, then you can get into trouble, right? And then GDPR is of course like a European law, so that only applies to European citizens. But now we have other laws in California and Canada that are also trying to do the same thing. So the goal is that if there's any user information that you're tracking, then you should have permission of that user, and the user should understand कि यार मेरे पास जो information है उससे मैं क्या करूँगा.
So somebody is asking the UTM parameters that we were discussing, is there any way to automate this entire process, or for each campaign we have to manually create separate links for that?
बिल्कुल. So there's not like a very automated process. It depends on the platform. So अगर आप Google Ads पे काम कर रहे हैं तो Google Ads पे UTMs की इतनी ज़्यादा ज़रूरत नहीं है, क्योंकि आप Google Analytics से उससे लिंक कर सकते हैं, right? So it would automatically send information to Google Analytics, when you've enabled that auto linking is the feature that's And then Facebook में ये होता है कि there's actually a feature in Facebook कि उसमें आप dynamic parameters का एक concept है. The idea is that Facebook ads you can use a parameter which will be a standard parameter. It's called it's just called dynamic parameters in Facebook. You can look for that. That will always pass the name of the campaign in the URL. So जब आप अपना URL बना रहे हैं तो आपको सिर्फ एक ही दफा URL बनाना है, and then you can use it. इसी तरह से अगर आप buffer use कर रहे हैं, या I think even our homegrown social champ use कर रहे हैं, they also have this feature कि आप UTM tagging enable कर सकते हैं, ताकि जब भी आपकी social post हो उस पर automatically UTMs लग जाएं. So there's a lot of features that make it possible. But अगर आप, and even for example Mailchimp as well, उसमें भी ये feature है कि आप जब campaign चला रहे हैं तो you can just enable UTM tags. So that's like your best way to do it, is to like enable those integrations. But जहाँ पे नहीं है वहाँ पे आपको खुद ही करना पड़ेगा. तो उसमें मेरी recommendation ये है कि you build either some sort of a spreadsheet to maintain this. And there's also other tools like utm.io that I've linked to as well, that let you actually maintain like a document with all of these links in one place.
Okay, so somebody is asking, how do these I think you've answered this question, but if you have, let me know. They're asking, how do these different social media platforms figure out which specific products are we interested in, or show us the same product and recommendation? I think you answered it already कि वो retargeting के जरिए हो रहा होता है basically.
हाँ बिल्कुल, retargeting के जरिए हो रहा होता है, लेकिन I think जो हमारी पूरी इंडस्ट्री है, that's very much driven by these sort of ads. So and this is actually one of the reasons कि GDPR भी आया, क्योंकि people were getting tracked like too excessively. तो idea ये है कि when someone visits the website, in the background there's some information that is being sent to Facebook that will tell them कि X person has visited this website and then this page on that website. So जब वो ये information भेज रहे होते हैं तो they are also sending along कि कौन सा product उन्होंने देखा जब वो उस page पे थे, right? So if a page has like say 5 products, it will show them. If you added something to cart, it will actually say कि यार इस वाले product की ज़्यादा value है क्योंकि they seem more interested in this particular product, right? So इस तरह से जो भी action है वो जब इन systems के पास जाता है, so they figure out कि मुझे अब of course ad दिखाना चाहिए क्योंकि this person is more interested in this thing versus just some random site that they've never visited before, right? So that's like how that side of things works. And then as an advertiser, as a marketer, you are able to you're able to then bid कि मैं इस ad को दिखाने के लिए इतने पैसे spend करना चाह रहा हूँ, right? And then that's how you start seeing all of these ads that chase you around the internet.
Okay, so somebody is asking a question about Amazon stores. They're asking, other than Google Analytics for our own website or app, is there any other similar site or platform where we can track our Amazon store? And does UTM parameter also work on Amazon store as well?
Sure. So yeah, I don't have a lot of experience with Amazon, but like at a high level, Amazon पे ये वाली चीज़ काम नहीं करेगी. उसकी वजह ये है कि Amazon पे आप अपना एनालिटिक्स का ट्रैकिंग कोड नहीं डाल सकते. तो उसके लिए जो तरीका है, which is like the simplest way would be something like Bitly, right? So अगर आप Bitly डालते हैं तो आपको ये पता चल जाएगा कितने क्लिक्स जो हैं वो Amazon पे जा रहे हैं. उसके beyond जो है, which Amazon lets you do is कि Amazon has affiliate links, right? So आप as affiliate sign up कर सकते हैं और उसके थ्रू जब भी आपके लिंक के थ्रू परचेज होगी तो इट विल सेंड यू बैक इंफॉर्मेशन, राइट? सो दैट वुड बी द अदर वे टू ट्रैक द कन्वर्जन्स. उसके अलावा आई डोंट थिंक Amazon gives you a lot of information unless this is your product on Amazon, then you get like some more information about कि कहाँ से लोग आ रहे हैं, कितना कन्वर्ट कर रहे हैं, but
Yes,
otherwise it's very limited.
I read like a center to Amazon का अगर आपका seller account हो, so they do give you insights about traffic basically आ कहाँ से रहा है. But if you're working with them as an affiliate, so they basically I think keep your link active for जो cookies की हम बात कर रहे थे for I think 3 days or 6 days, I don't know, ऐसी कुछ होते हैं. And then they also, if somebody is like, मैंने अगर watch का एक ad जो है उस पे place किया था and somebody came from my link and they purchased an ad, so Amazon basically gives you the money for the entire card that person sign up for. So वो एक चीज है. So okay, so another person is asking, which marketing channel in your opinion has the greatest influence on sales?
So I think it depends really on what you're trying to sell, right? In a lot of cases, LinkedIn is very popular with business related things. अगर आप B2B sales कर रहे हैं, for like any kind of consumer related purchase, Facebook used to be really inexpensive. Up it's like relatively more expensive. So I think it really depends on like the platforms that you're using. अगर मैं वैसे बात करूँ कि इस वक्त कौन सा बहुत emerging platform है from consumers, so like TikTok right now is very, very underpriced, right? So I think the attention there is very cheap to get right now because there's not a lot of people there. And similarly, like things like Snapchat a while ago were really inexpensive. So I think जब भी आप impact की बात करते हैं, you have to think about it in terms of कि यार मैंने कितने पैसे खर्च करके कितना फायदा ले रहा हूँ, right? So in very simple terms, you have to think of like the cost as well as like the revenue that you're driving from it. So it depends on your like the product that you're selling, where your audience is, at for that thing, and then based off that you'll have your answer.
Okay. So the next question is, what would you recommend is the most impactful attribution model for a fashion brand that has a lot of traffic being generated from paid channels such as Facebook, Google, and Snapchat? So there might be users who come from Facebook ads and later through Google ads. So last click would be better or the data driven?
So yeah, so that's a great question. So it's a very common thing कि a person would come from multiple channels. तो उसमें जो चीज़ understand करने वाली है वो ये है कि यार how often do people come only from one channel versus how often do they use the combination of these channels? ठीक है, तो for example अगर आपके पास 3 लोग हैं और like let's say 4 लोग हैं, एक बंदा Facebook से कन्वर्ट कर रहा है, एक बंदा सिर्फ Google से कन्वर्ट कर रहा है, एक बंदा ऐसा है जो पहले फेसबुक से आता है फिर गूगल से आता है फिर कन्वर्ट करता है, और एक चौथा बंदा ऐसा है जो मतलब पहले आपके पास गूगल से आ रहा है फिर फेसबुक से आ रहा है फिर कन्वर्ट कर रहा है. सो इफ यू लुक एट ऑल दीज 4 यूजर्स, इट डजंट रियली मैटर विच प्रोफाइल यू यूज, क्योंकि वो सारे चैनल से कॉम्बिनेशन में एक ही तरह से आ रहे हैं. अगर आप फर्स्ट क्लिक देखेंगे या लास्ट क्लिक देखेंगे, कन्वर्जन्स तकरीबन बराबर होंगे. So the reason you would use attribution in most cases is if there's actually a lot of difference between the channels that people come from. अगर हमेशा बंदा फेसबुक से पहले आता है और गूगल से बाद में आता है, दैट वुड मीन कि अगर आप गूगल एनालिटिक्स को देख रहे हैं तो आपका ज़्यादातर जो एट्रीब्यूशन है उसमें गूगल फेसबुक को बहुत कम क्रेडिट मिल रहा होगा. बट like if it's like very similar, then it doesn't really matter because that effort could be spent elsewhere optimizing things. So I think like it's really dependent on things, but मेरा मशवरा ये होता है कि यार you should stick to one attribution model, but day to day, or like, maybe like once a month, or once so often, look at the ratio of different attribution models. कि अगर मैं यार is there any attribution model which all of a sudden gives a lot more credit to one thing versus the other? And if it is, then you should think more about it. But अगर वो similar performance दे रहा है, then it doesn't really make too much sense to try to switch that model, because last click is the one that's most commonly available everywhere right now. So I think you're muted, Hira.
So I think we have another question about GDPR, but we've already discussed it, so I'm skipping it. उसके बाद एक सवाल है, yeah, it's the same about Amazon stores. We have discussed it again. The person is saying we cannot integrate Google Analytics into our Amazon stores. Do they offer such analytics? But I think you answered it that they.
बिल्कुल. So they, like, you cannot really integrate Google Analytics, right? And as you said कि अगर आपका seller account है, तो then you can see
Yeah. Okay, and another person is asking, I often hear about 360 digital marketing solution. What do you think is 360 in this context?
So 360, I think is mostly like hype, to be honest. Like, I think there's nothing really 360 because हमारे journeys हैं, they are very, very disjointed. But 360 का जो idea है वो ये है कि you have a central place from which you can do all the marketing to the customer. So you can, send them emails, you can, show them ads, you can, send them SMS and all of these things. So जो उनकी सारी journey है वो एक ही जगह से control हो रही है, and then you're able to measure it from the same place as well. So that's the idea of 360. But it's a very, मेरे ख्याल में it's a very optimistic view of the world, and it's like, in my experience, doesn't really happen, right? So it's better to, from my experience, like have, specialized platform that are really good at, the one or two things that, that they do, and then, you build your own sort of structure of things that, work together.
Okay. So I think that's it, my first question. So यही मेरा एक सवाल है, if we have time, मेरे दिमाग में भी आया है, but I'm taking the opportunity to ask. So वो सवाल basically है, I read the news, I think a few weeks ago, कि by 2020 Google Chrome is like killing the cookies totally. So I just wanted to hear your opinion about it. If that happens in year 2022 or maybe later, what is the future in general about the like marketing or analytics per se?
सही है. So वैसे यार, this is a very existential crisis, so I think a lot of people are very worried about it at the moment. The thing is that even if you kill cookies, it doesn't necessarily mean you can't collect data. The thing, the idea is कि जो cookie की ज़रूरत पड़ती है वो इस वजह से पड़ती है कि मेरा जो browser है, like we have to somehow keep track of the user over a long period of time. कि अगर मैं जब भी वापस आ रहा हूँ, and I'm sort of doing some activity, but there are already other ways to do that, do that thing, right? So अगर आप for example Apple के devices पे हैं, so they have a very, very privacy conscious way of identifying कि कौन user है, who's actually looking at my who's actually opening the app, or who's like doing something there. So there's actually other identities that you can use to identify the user. They are not as as popular. And then within cookies as well, कि अगर आपके पास ad platforms हैं तो उनकी cookies का different है, and Google Analytics की cookies का different limitation है. So I think I'm hopeful that after going through 2020 we'll be fine. We'll figure something out by then. But yeah, I think it will likely be it's going to be a combination of something with browser हमें कोई और information दे रहा होगा to identify the user.
Okay, I think that's pretty much it. सारे सवाल हमने Facebook से भी ले लिए हैं, and then I just checked the community if we have more questions there. Just give me a minute. I think. Yeah, so I think we've pretty much covered everything. Any parting note, Hussain? Any tip, any advice, any insight that you want to give about marketing in general?
Totally, yeah. So first of all, yeah, thank you very much for hosting this. So I really appreciate that. I think I've been following Tech Geeks, for a while, so I think it's great to kind of collaborate with you on this one. And yeah, on our part, right, our goal with market ethics is, we are interested in understanding and figuring out like why this behavior, why people behave a certain way, right? So mera interest is mostly around like figuring out that user behavior side of things. And digital marketing is a really big part of like what we do, but it's like the challenge is actually really fun because it's just one part of that journey. Once it's like someone is your customer, there's actually a lot of these things that happen after that. My pitch to you guys is to actually start on that journey and try to be really simple. You don't really have to think about complex things. You can just start with just measuring some impact and then kind of going from there. But I think if you think about that, that's a really beneficial way to actually be very economically efficient with any sort of advertising you're doing. And then if you are someone that enjoys doing this, we are also hiring very aggressively on our side. So if this seems like something that you'd like to learn more about or talk about, please reach out as well. Thank you.
Okay, I think that's it. Thank you so much once again. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to moderate the session. I think I myself learned a lot from you. And let this be a continuous journey on Facebook and everywhere else. And I think you guys have like more sessions coming up with different communities. So if you wanna like talk more about it, take the opportunity to do so. So people can follow maybe the future sessions.
Yeah, certainly. So हमारा यार goal ये है कि when I started with analytics, I was sort of the only one in Pakistan doing it, and then over time we've sort of built like this community within the team, right? And what हमारा goal अब ये है कि यार we want this to be more popular and more well understood, because most people are not exposed to this until much later. So for that, we are doing a series of these sessions, taking kind of benefit of COVID and everything, and being working from home. So we are going to have weekly sessions for the next couple of weeks. I have a very smart colleague kind of speaking next week. So if you follow us on Market Ethics, you'll know more about them, and we'll definitely share something about it in Tech Geeks as well.
Okay, so that's it. I think for people who listen to the session later, I think जो बाद में इसको सुनेंगे, if you have any questions, Hussain shared his contact details with you guys. Feel free to reach out and feel free to like drop a comment anywhere this video is shared. So Anas or maybe me or somebody else would just send the question to Hussain. Thank you so much, everybody who's still watching and who watched us midway and left. Thank you so much to everyone. And I hope to see you guys soon. And so sign off. I'm signing off, and Hussain, you can sign off as well if you want to say anything else.
Thank you. Have a good one, Hira.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.